Hello, hello, hello.
Hello. I was feeling a bit lonely here.
I know. Were you a bit worried?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, you almost lost me today.
Oh dear, why?
I've been up all night.
Why is that?
My mother was visiting and she twisted her knee last night, and we spent 8 hours waiting for an ambulance.
8 hours?
Yeah.
Good grief.
Yeah. Between various, and that included a clinical guy phoning up, who then decided that because of she hadn't had an impact for her injury, that he's got the ambulance, the first ambulance, to stand down. And then consequently, everyone I spoke to after that turned around and says, "Why on earth did you do that?" I said, "I know. I pleaded with him not to." This was at 4 o'clock in the morning after being up all night. So anyway, she's shipped off to hospital on gas and air, and she's fine now. So I will get some sleep eventually. But if I look a little bit like I've been up all night, I have.
All right, Barry, Julian.
Good morning. How are we doing?
Yeah. All right. All right.
Thank you for the link. I'm not sure what I've done. Often I find it's user error, frankly.
I don't know. Well, I'd sent out a reminder at about 8:30, and I looked, and it didn't come through to me, so I thought I had to send it out again.
Right.
But bombarding people with it's always the same link anyway. I mean,
Can I use old ones in that?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realise. I hadn't followed the train of numbers and letters or whatever it was through yet.
yeah. I always use the same one because so that people can just pop in if they happen to, and a couple do. Sort of, but.
Well, as a real life, Julian, it tends to be the human interface that falls down.
Always the way.
At least we know where to look.
Yeah.
True. Very good.
How are you, Natalie?
Working? Is my microphone working all right, Robin?
Yes. Yeah.
Thanks. My camera might go because it keeps freezing every now and again. Got some IT issues, so if it does go off, I'm still in the background.
Okay.
The joys of Zoom.
Yeah.
Crashes
Still going
every
in
time.
Zoom. Still.
Well, it crashes every time I have a Windows update. It just doesn't like it, and it starts freezing.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, they keep all these ITs. They keep developing. They keep updating, and not everybody catches up with it.
It's called progress.
Yeah.
It's like I've worked with a company who is a Hilton hotel, and no offense to the guys who invented OnQ, but it's not exactly the most modern of front office systems, and the stuff they recommend for spa looks even more outdated. But with 500 odd hotels in the world, if they ever get to actually update their software, they'll.
Yeah.
What's it called, Robin? OnQ.
OnQ is the Hilton software, specifically developed for them.
That's the PMS, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it's,
I didn't know that.
Don't you just love hospitality businesses when they're specific developed product? The rest of the world is wrong. We're right.
Yeah. I think they want everything exactly as they want it to be, even if it doesn't quite make sense. Yeah.
Fair enough.
But, I remember Trust House Forte used to have CaraHost. Does anybody remember them?
I remember both companies. That's a bit sad, isn't it?
I was at school. I was at school then, Robin.
Every day is a school day, Austin. Every day is a school day.
I know, but I genuinely was. I mean,
yeah, they used to spend fortunes developing their own software, and then finally gave up on it, I think. But yeah.
Even they saw the light.
Well, for a while, and then they got taken over by Granada, and they don't exist anymore. So.
No, they do.
Yeah.
Morning, Alan. Morning, Joanne.
Morning all.
Morning all.
Morning, Philippa.
Morning.
Now, how are we all? Have we all survived the storms? There's another one on its way.
Allegedly, yes.
Yeah.
Well, there's no allegedly, Austin. It's starting to make its presence felt around here. It's definitely wet and windy outside, and the snow's due about lunchtime.
It's mysteriously quiet.
Batten down the hatches.
I see how it is here. I'm in North Wales at the moment. They had quite a bit of trees down and everything the other week. When I was lucky I wasn't here at the time. This time I'll see how it goes.
Were you affected, Barry? Did you? Are you on?
We got off very lightly with the last one. The west, normally the weather comes in from the west, so around Glasgow we would get it. This time, strangely, it came from the north and the east. So it was windy around here. There was, it was quite blustery, but nothing compared to what the east of the country got.
Yeah. It got quite a pounding.
There's friends of mine in Aberdeenshire who literally have only been reconnected in the last 24 hours.
Really?
Wow.
Morning,
Hardy
everyone.
folk up there, but
Morning, Emma.
Morning, Emma.
Morning.
a week without electricity tests anybody.
So how in general, how is the Christmas market going in people you know? Is there good pickup? I know one of the hotels I've got down in Bournemouth is doing fairly well, but I suppose North Wales isn't exactly the best place for business. But how in general do you notice there's a strong market Christmas these days, or is it still?
I was staying at the German hotel in London, and they had their Christmas market on Saturday, and that rocked off very well.
Anywhere around the country, Barry, is Scotland getting lively, or is it they're still very cautious?
I'm getting really mixed messages up here. The media would tell you that there's a huge flux of cancellations.
Yep.
People in industry are telling me, no, that's not true. What they're seeing is what's booked is turning up. What they're not seeing is the pickup. So the kind of random flow, people going to bars and restaurants before they go to a party night, that's not happening. And certainly the volume is down. Without question, the volume, bigger businesses are not having the formal parties. They're doing the more informal stuff than maybe just, an office is going out for drinks on a Friday night or such. So it's a very different Christmas from what we're used to. It's better than last year, because last year there was no Christmas at all. But I think, what we've also seen is that operators were very late into the market because everybody was so uncertain, didn't know what to do. So the product was very late into the market, and my own experience, I'm only going to one kind of formal party, which happens to be tomorrow night, and it's a 222 3-course menu. Now, do I feel as though I'm getting great value for money with what's being served to me tomorrow? Not really, if I'm being honest. I put my other hat on, and I know, knowing everything that's going on in the industry, a 2-2 and 2-set menu is probably the best that they can manage right now. So whilst I don't feel I'm getting great value for money, I'm also very sympathetic to what's happening on the ground. Whether the general public are so sympathetic, that's another matter entirely.
I guess the question is, well, if that's delivered well, then they've done the best they can do, and arguably probably with depleted resources. So
yeah, I'd agree with you there, Julian. I think the biggest challenge to any operator right now is actually being able to operate. Whether you can have the staff and the team to deliver, and whether you can rely on your supply chain to deliver the goods. I was in a 4-star brandy DoubleTree on Friday having a client meeting, and when my guest asked for decaf coffee, the answer came back, "Oh, I don't know if we've got any."
But if you make it really thin and put a lot of milk in it, they'll be all right.
I think that's really indicative of how the supply chain is struggling to deliver even the basics at the moment.
Yeah, well, on that, big chains like Costa Coffee
have got signs up saying, please bear with us. Also our key supplies we just don't have, you know, and that's a national chain serving only coffee. So absolutely right. It does feel like a lot of it for the storms. When I'm up in the Lake District and we have suffered not as badly as the East, but my goodness, we've had rows of 70 trees come down in one hit, taking out telegraph poles, not just the wires, but taking out the poles as well. It almost feels like we're sort of post-war. We're getting to sort of post-war mentality. We can all, expectations will be lowered a bit.
I also heard there's Natasha's law that's also impacting on, you can't just go out and buy something that you're short of because you have to buy from your the designated suppliers, and so that's also impacting, isn't it?
Very much so, Philippa. I hadn't quite appreciated the full impact of that until a friend who works in the food service sector was explaining to me recently that you know, particularly the bigger organised providers, they've done all the due diligence, they've got their menu banks, they've got their standard recipes and all the paperwork in place, and then whoever their food chain supplier is substitutes a different flour, substitutes a different brand of sugar, and immediately your standard recipes are now void. So they can't serve the product, they can't, you know, they don't have the time to update the labels because it's a different flour that's been used, or it's a different whatever, you know, it can be one base ingredient and that item has to come off the shelf.
From January as well, the price of wheat is going to triple. So the big companies like Warburton's are trying not to pass that on to the consumer for everyday staples like bread, but bagels, muffins, crumpet, that's where that extra cost is going to sit. Don't know if any of you are aware, but most of our wheat comes in via Australia at the moment. And because of COVID and because of the supply chain, we're just not going to get the influx into the country come January. So you will start seeing an increase personally in your shopping, anything wheat based, but anything commercial like beer, bread, some operators are going to have to pass that cost on.
Yeah. The other thing to be wary of for January, if any of your supply chain is currently reliant upon goods that are imported into the UK from other EU, you know, from EU member states, the admin processes for importing from the EU into the UK changes very significantly in January. So if you're currently stocking, you know, if you're using French butter or Italian source pasta, I would be prepared that it will not be available for a period of time, because the import processes change significantly.
It's all good news, isn't it?
It's your Christmas gift for this year, Julian. Yeah.
Happy.
Of course, if you're in Northern Ireland, you're lucky as long as they don't do any stupid ideas about the protocol. Daniel, how are things down in sunny Cornwall? Is it still sunny?
Oh no, we started lashing down last night, and it's only just stopped. We just stopped enough to get the laundry in, so that's a good sign, isn't it? No, we made it.
Go on.
We had, we going back to Christmas parties talking about earlier. We made a decision last year that we weren't going to do them for COVID, and this year we've made a decision not to do them, not for COVID, but for a financial reason. You know, the year before last, we did the most Christmas parties that we've ever done, and we made less profit. So the following year we stopped. We went through COVID, and we had a lot of leisure guests. The spa was in full swing, and we made a much better profit. So this year we've decided the same. And when party guests just want a one night and they want a cheap meal, we're now seeing people staying 2, 3, 4 nights throughout December, and it's been mental, Robin. Usually in November we'd see a 35% occupancy on a good year. We've just hit 78% occupancy for the end of November, and we're full most of December as well. So we're getting the kind of the kickback from people not wanting to go abroad, and we're going to have again the best December we've had on record, which is phenomenal. It really is great news.
Yeah, it's strange how things have changed, isn't it? And it keeps on going, doesn't it, with these reintroducing all these barriers for traveling. My wife was out in Spain and got caught with the having to sort of do the test, stay at home and do the test when she got back. But I don't think. I mean, what's the opinion on COVID? If most people are vaccinated, is it really worth having restrictions? Any?
I have a family member that got COVID and had been vaccinated, and they got COVID in June, and about 4 weeks ago they came out of intensive care in the hospital, and they'd been vaccinated twice. And his state at the moment is really home, but not good at all. He's having 24-hour care at the moment. So absolutely. And I've had COVID, and I had two vaccinations at the time. Yeah, and I was at the same event as he was, and I was out for 3 days. And if that answers your question, bloody right, lock yourself up.
Yeah. I had it twice and I'm double vaccinated, but I can't have my booster because I'm having surgery next week and the surgeon won't allow me to have the booster beforehand, which is a bit concerning as to what it does to you, as to why I'm not allowed it.
Interfere with your Wi-Fi and your 5G. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Whatever the bits are.
Yeah, I'm not allowed it till the new year. They won't let me go under having a booster.
Okay, well, today we've got Austin giving us some innovative ideas, and I'll have a little chat afterwards about what I've seen in general in the IT market and stuff. So over to you, Austin.
Okay, shall I share screen, Robin?
Yeah, just let me check it. Oops, wait a minute.
Should be.
There we go.
Live. Can you see it?
Yeah.
There we go. As if by magic. Well, hi everybody. So Robin kindly asked me. People usually know me as an ex-purchasing director, etc. But over the last 2 years, I've got involved with a business called Amenity Warehouse, which sounds a bit weird. It started off as focusing on doing hotel cosmetics, trying to do dispenser cosmetics and a little bit more sustainable solutions. But as you can imagine, in the pandemic, everything got hit, and business turned on its head. We immediately, I hate the word pivot, but I will use it. We immediately pivoted and started producing social distance signage in 6 colors and bespoke colors, etc., which kept us going through the summer of 2020. But as we went on over that course of that year, I recognized that I was speaking to a lot of independent hoteliers over the course of the country, and I recognized that actually there was potentially a room and a slot of support that Amenity Warehouse could slot into, and I'll explain that shortly. My background is in purchasing effectively, so I've been with Accor and Radisson and Rank Group and Bunzl. I did business development with Bunzl, but I've been in and around the hotel business for 20 years. And what I've really always been is someone that's really focused on the customer and thinking how we can change the customer experience and improve that. Now, of course, the thing is, as a hotelier and as a purchasing guy, what I recognized, if I go back even 15 years in my career, that sometimes you had purchasing directors and people that were be at head office and organizing products and purchasing, etc., and they were very distant from what was really actually happening in hotels. And I always thought, I was always quite uncomfortable with that. So I spent a lot of time in hotels. And I remember one CEO, commenting to me that he was amazed how well I understood the operations. And I thought that was a great way to be, because I think if you were buying products for hospitality, you've got to understand how hospitality is going to use them. Sometimes you can see something that appears to be a great idea for hospitality. I'll give you an example. Room foggers, to give housekeeping cleaners room foggers, to say go and fog a room to clean a room and clear out of COVID. Well, you've got 2 chances, one's fat and one no, of that actually working, because you've got to physically understand that you've got to train someone to do that. It's not just a case of walking in and doing it. So, so I've been in and around the industry a long time. And so what happened with Amenity Warehouse is we suddenly started to come across little pockets of innovative products that we thought, hey, that would be good. This might be useful. And what we recognized is that really over the course of the last 10 years, especially, you've had a lot of hospitality businesses, especially the big groups, have diluted their purchasing activities to effectively GPOs. So they've gone to, Hilton Supply Management is a GPO. Accor have a store, it's a GPO. You have, well, who do we have? PSL, who are now Integra, all those guys. And what I thought was, as this happened, and it sparked the demise of the old school purchasing director, of which I was one of them, you really saw a distancing between the supply base and the communication between the supply base and the hospitality industry. And one of the things that used to happen in those places is those suppliers would come and say, hey, I've got this product. I think this will be great for your industry. And the purchasing directors or the purchasing people would at least have an opportunity to see what was new and perhaps things that were coming through. So effectively, we repositioned Amenity Warehouse as a stop shop for weird, potentially weird stuff that hospitality industry hadn't used before. And I always focus the word innovation on in two ways. One is either something you've never seen before in your life, or something that exists in another industry and perhaps can be used by hospitality or by a reuse of something else that already exists. So today, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to run you through a few little gadgets and gizmos, which is always a little bit of fun. Anyone who's been on a call with me at different times will know that I will sometimes pick up different things and show you. So I've got a few little videos, a few little bits, and I'm always interested to see what people think of them. The other thing as well, I would say, is because of the Bunzls, the alliances of this world, these large organizations, their purchasing teams are no longer that interested in finding new and innovative stuff either. So our Amenity Warehouse has found its little niche, and I'm very pleased about that. And of course, if you do come across anything, by the way, I would like a toaster that could toast on a breakfast buffet, that you just press a button and choose the color, and that's it. I'm sure with technology we could do that. So, if you come across any sources of innovation, let me know. So I'll run through some things for you. So the first thing I'm going to say is that actually what's happened in the last year, without doubt, is what I call COVID innovation. So COVID has meant a lot of different products, has brought in a lot of different innovations. So the first thing I'm going to just highlight is this INEOS hand sanitizer dispenser. The interesting thing for me on this point and why we launched this product is that I see still far too many hospitality businesses with dodgy little bottles of sanitizer on a table as you walk in. I cannot see a world in the near future where you would not have sanitizer in the entrance to a hospitality business. And so it still baffles me, and I know it's still early days, but it still baffles me that you'll get these dodgy white bottles with nothing in it that doesn't work, and you're pumping away and trying to get your sanitizer as you go in. And frankly, I think there's a lot of businesses should hang their head in shame on this point, because this is the first touch point as you go into a business. So, albeit I will say that the as a unit, this is a real it's a real heavy unit. They come on stands, and you can get them in different colors. They also work on a cartridge system, and in and out, and we'll talk to a mobile phone and tell you when the cartridge needs replacing. And it's all lithium USB recharge batteries, all that kind of technology is there and it exists. It's just we'll be interested to see how long it takes before people start to say, okay, we're going to make it look good when it comes in. So the INEOS sanitizer is a nice little product. INEOS, by the way, prior to the pandemic, were the largest producer of synthetic ethanol in the world. And so they looked at that market and they said, okay, what can we do? They obviously had this partnership and sponsorship with the race car, with Mercedes McLaren, and that's where it all came from, etc. So it's a nice little unit, but it's worth considering if you have a nice venue and you'd like to have something that's looking a little bit more snazzy. So it's not always about COVID. So I'm going to throw in a few videos in this too, and one of the other big products that we've had over the course of the last year is flat equalizers. Now I'm going to run the little video, but flat equalizers were invented in Australia about 4 or 5 years ago. They do quite well in the US now, but they're effectively little feet that stop your tables from wobbling. Simple principle, simple idea, but let's face it, how many times have we been in a nice restaurant, spent a lot of money, and they are down there on the floor with their bits of paper doing it, etc., etc. I mean, I remember that experience in the Gavroche. So, you know, it's not always a good thing. So I'll play the video. What I will do is warn you guys, because I had no way of setting the levels of the videos. So if the video comes out really loud, brace yourself. But it's a quick 1 minute, very American, very snazzy, but it shows you the very point that I'm talking about.
At Flat, we know how hard you work to create a great dining experience. Wobbly and misaligned tables can ruin that experience for your customers in an instant. Now you can get mad, and your customers will, or you can get equal with flat equalizers. Equalizers have been designed to stabilize and align virtually any style of restaurant table, existing or new. In fact, flat equalizers incorporate key features found in Flat's award-winning table bases. Installing equalizers is easy. First, determine the thread size of your existing feet. Equalizers are available in multiple thread sizes to fit almost all styles and sizes of tables. Then, simply unscrew the feet on your table and replace them with hydraulically actuated flat equalizers. Once equalizers are installed, all it takes to stabilize a wobbly table is a slight push on the tabletop to adjust the feet and lock them in place. Let me demonstrate. I'm going to place these wedges underneath the table to make it unstable. Now, if I press down, the equalizers will adjust and lock in place, perfectly stabilizing the table. If the table moves from the high point, equalizers will automatically stabilize the table. Pretty good, right? Well, equalizers do more than just stabilize wobbly tables. They make joining tables for large parties easier than ever. Let me show you. All you have to do is raise or tilt the tabletop. The feet will adjust, creating a seamless alignment. Whether your problem tables are inside or out in the patio, in a fine dining establishment, or in a QSR, equalizers are durable enough to stabilize and align your tables wherever you use them. Flat equalizers are tested to international standards and are fully sealed to block out dirt, food particles, and other grime. What's more, they're manufactured from high-impact, corrosion-resistant materials. Rest assured, they won't lose their edge. Stabilize and align your existing tables with the hydraulic capabilities of flat equalizers and lay the foundation for a stronger business. So don't get mad. Get equal.
So as you can see, it's a very, very snazzy, very American, but it's going to start again. But you can see that actually, I imagine someone sitting there with a wobbly table in the restaurant one day and go, I've got to fix this problem. The next thing I'm going to talk about is another Cove innovation. And interestingly, what we've come across is that, and we've got a lot of access to trends that are going on in the Far East, especially with regards to treating and environments with regards to COVID. And the interesting thing to learn from that market is that they've had SARS and MERS for the last 15, 20 years. So they're well ahead of the game. And in fact, I know that the legal regulations for opening a restaurant or a hospitality business in Hong Kong, for example, has just been changed this year, which means that every single new property that opens has to have one of two specific methods for cleaning the air whilst operating the business. So you will see air purification technology pop up all over the place. This particular air technology that we use with the Goji group is 20 years old. It's been going around for a long time. It's proven to pull all the viruses and bacteria out of the air. And there's lots of different size units for different size business. We've sold a few to places like music venues that wanted to just, make their places a little bit safer. I find that the type of people that buy into these technologies tends to be a reflection of their own personal attitude towards risk. Some people say, okay, well, I'll just open a window. But if you've got a venue that, you have lots of people in, it's not a bad thing to have one of these operating. I've got the pink one here, just to give you an idea of sizing. That's a good one for 60 cubic meter room. That will run quite nicely. The other thing I'm going to say about air purification technologies and air cleaning technologies is that bacteria is usually the cause of most bad odor. And so what you will find is that hospitality has a potential additional benefit from air purification or air sterilization or bacteria sterilization, is it removes the smells. So if you have one of these units and you put it in a bathroom or somewhere, a restroom or a washroom, then you'll find that the air is very red. Obviously, you'd have to remove the source of the smells in order to get it, but you can make a dramatic impact. And we see that this has quite an effect on things like hotel rooms. If you have a hotel room that smells bad, running one of these in it for half an hour will take that smell out of the air. So I said it wasn't always going to be about COVID, and I've kind of interspersed things. So would anyone like to see us make a portion of scrambled eggs in 15 seconds? I mean, if you've never come across the Scrag machine, effectively what you're about to see is a coffee machine. We're using coffee air technology to make scrambled eggs. They are all over Germany. Costa Coffee are trying them at the moment in the UK. And especially when people are doing quick service breakfast and quick service breakfast options, it's quite a nifty little thing. So let me show you the video. We sold one of these in the summer to a little cafe, just like a greasy spoon. And the proprietor there did 80 portions of scrambled eggs a day. And he just turned around and he said, it just changes my life. Because obviously you don't have to do it in a paper cup. You can do it in the same cup and just stir it out, put it out. Or you can, serve it in that cup and put whatever you like into it. But it's just something a little bit different. It's something that you don't see so much in the UK. But as I said, very, very popular in Germany and the Netherlands and Belgium a bit as well, and pretty well established out there. The other thing as well, I have a pet hate of soggy straws. So I came across a company called Paper Straws London, actually pre-pandemic. I was talking to them about 2 or 3 years ago. And effectively, they were born out of a bookbinding business based in the East End of London, who used to make all of the brochures and pamphlets for the theatres in the West End. And so because they've been binding books for 80 years or so, they went back through the archives and found out, different methods and different routines, different pressure processes, etc., to make paper straws that don't go soggy. And actually, one of these straws will sit and quite functionally work. We've tested up to 8 hours. Now, in a hospitality environment, let's be honest, you don't really want to or need an 8-hour straw. If someone's nursing a straw for 8 hours, you've got a problem because you needed to have sold them another drink in the meantime. But the reality of it is people like to have a straw that's going to stay potentially within, do its function and do its function right. They have a complete range of colors. They're all based around the tube map. So you have the Northern Line, the Metropolitan Line, all different colors, and obviously people have different needs for different colors in different locations. So that's quite a nifty little thing, something a little bit different, and it's on a price wise, it's comparable with paper straws, so it's not you're not paying a premium for that. The other thing that we did in this course of this summer, and probably our biggest, most impactful thing, is we created what we call the Hospitality COVID Test Club. Effectively, we were selling and distributing and working in COVID testing from the middle of last year, really. September 2020, we started to get involved in lateral flow testing and in a little bit into the PCR side as well. In those days, a lateral flow test, an individual lateral flow test, would have set you back the best part of 25, 30 pounds. We were not selling them to anybody that we didn't give training. So if you wanted to buy lateral flow tests in those days, you would physically have to attend a video training session. And we came up with a video method of doing video training before we would actually send the COVID test to people. So we've been on the whole journey of how that's been. And then in the middle of the summer, because we're close to the manufacturers, we had a meeting with the manufacturers and said, okay, what is it we can do differently in this marketplace to bring the cost down and make it more cost effective for hospitality operators? And effectively, they said that the problem they have is that there's no regularity in supply, and everyone's buying at different times. So we created the test club specifically for hospitality businesses. We've got restaurants in there, we've got hotel groups, some very well-known hotel groups as well, including, you know, Handpicked are in there, GLH. So they are all buying together, and effectively they have a buying window every month that we issue to them, and we buy in block and make the savings for the people in the club. And what we always committed from the front end was that any savings we got as the club grew, which that happens if the volume thing. So every time a price point has been reached, we just pass those savings all back onto the club. So it's something that's growing, doing quite well. It's quite topical at the moment, as you can imagine. It's interesting to see the different attitudes. I could talk all day about the different attitudes towards testing in different hospitality businesses, but certainly the people that are testing regularly are picking up cases earlier and pretty much avoiding people from going into work and spreading it around amongst teams. So the last major innovation I'm going to talk about is UVC's LED sterilization. Now, I don't know if you've come across it before. It's a technology that's existed. It's back to another COVID technology here, but it's back to a technology that's been around 6 years or so, 6 or 7 years. We've partnered with a company called 59S, who are based in China, and they currently produce 1 in 2 of every UVC LED sterilization lights up till now. Effectively, what you're talking about is light that kills bacteria. It's that simple. So I'll show you a little video to just illustrate a little bit how it works. And while you see it, I'll talk over this one a little bit because he's not going to say anything in particular. But because they run at the light is at a certain frequency in the 250 to 290 nanometers wavelength, it will kill anything that in terms of bacteria that it comes into contact with. And it does it quite effectively. So this is now used in hospitals all over the world. It's used in various different medical applications. And what I've always been fascinated by is how we can take some of these applications that are used elsewhere and apply them to a hospitality environment and make them make it kind of work. And so you can see the bacteria there being killed off live in front of us as we speak. Now, the first application that this really got going with was with children's and baby stuff. And in the US, 59S has developed their position as a, sterilizing babies' dummies or babies' bottles. So you don't know. So we remember you all will remember sterilizing baby bottles. And then there was a generation that then sterilized in microwaves, and now there's a generation now that can sterilize them in various different products. I'll talk about the products in a minute. But effectively, what I've done, and there's a lot of different ways in which you can use this technology. There's a lot of different products, but I've kind of made sure that when we launch these into our business in the next few weeks, that we choose things that are usable and can be applied to hospitality quite easily. There's two particular ways that you can use this technology. The one is what I would say is item sterilization. So here's an example here of a box that could go on the reception, and you can put your pens in it, press a button, and it will sterilize those pens in 180 seconds. It does a little ring of light that goes round. So instead of having the dirty pens and the clean pens being in front of you on every reception desk, it's simple and it's effective, and it actually it's quite a nice looking unit. So let me just show you a video of the type of stuff that you will see with regards to actually being able to disinfect things, but you can disinfect things like remote controls. There's no reason why the housekeeping department can carry one of these, or I'll show you actually a little bag in a minute that does the same thing. So finding products and the right size of product to use, especially for things like hospitality, is I think important. So whenever I'm looking at products, and you know, people will bring products to me, and sometimes I'll just say it's just not going to work. But sometimes I'll say, well, actually, we need that in a different size. So this one particularly has the grid in the bottom that's quite handy, and you could shove a load of key cards in there. And you don't have, nobody has to be wiping anything down, and you're going to sterilize everything in 3 minutes flat, which is, I think, fairly clever. So different products, you know, housekeeping can carry a smaller bag with them and disinfect the remote controls or whatever you want to. We're not responsible for coming up with every single idea for use of the application, but we can usually throw in a few. The other thing that I think is really exciting is the application is using this to clean and disinfect environments. And you'll remember I talked earlier about the law change in Hong Kong, where they've introduced that you either, in order to open a hospitality business, you either have to have airflow cleaning, which is the Goji systems that I showed you earlier, or light-based cleaning using UVC. So UVC is a little bit cleverer in terms of how you would do environment. So have a quick look at this and see what can be done in a business environment. There you go. I think the video is repeating itself a little bit. But effectively having a let's see if I can What was it? Having UVC disinfectant environments is interesting. So it comes from as simple as a small bulb, a small LED bulb with UVC diodes in it, to what we call the UFO bulb, which would just be a hanging bulb, which is full illumination, and the UVC diodes as well. A little gizmo that could go on door handles that will actually disinfect door handles as well. And it goes right through to, we're not going to launch with these, but it goes right through to fully installing UVC lighting units into ceilings. The reason why we're not going to carry them initially is because we tend to go for products that can be easily installed by someone who doesn't have a maintenance engineer or electrician. You can screw in a light bulb, you can do that, that's fine. But what we don't want to do is start having to give people advice on things. But they've thought of it all. Even when you have the shared keyboard in reception, there's a little unit that just goes and sits over the top of the keyboard that can systematically every once in a while disinfect the keyboard. So it's been fun to share with you a few things today. Can't move to the next slide for some reason. Sorry, it's going to go there. Really, from our perspective, what makes us different, I think, is that we always just look from a hospitality perspective. If you spot anything or see anything that you think, hey, that would be something that hospitality could use, then let us know. We have a readership that's got quite large, because during the pandemic we kind of kept coming up with little gizmos and gadgets, and actually that's much more interesting for some people than others. So our readership is very good. We have a distribution email list of about 27,000 hospitality businesses across the country, of which we will get readerships of between 4,000 and 6,000 on every email that goes out. So, which is nice to see. So if you come up with anything, if you want to know any more, if you have any questions, then do feel free. But you can follow us on LinkedIn and see when we launch things. And sometimes we have a couple of months with nothing new, and then something hits or whatever. So I haven't showed you everything that's on the site, but it's kind of there for it, and hopefully we can make hospitality a bit better.
Okay, thank you, Austin. Has anybody got any questions or any ideas that they've seen floating around?
Just one quick point, just on the on those disinfecting bags, thinking about key cards and remote controls. Yeah. Presumably, I'm not quite sure how it all works, but if it's a remote control, presumably it doesn't affect the batteries that are in there. And if it's a key card, you don't want to disinfect them once they've been programmed for the room.
Nothing at all. It's just light. It's just the wavelength of light entirely. With regards to the bag, effectively you can put anything in there. You can put food matter. So the other interesting thing and the application of some of the lights is in kitchens. You could fully sterilize a kitchen overnight whilst people aren't working there. And you imagine that in terms of you could put the technology into walk-in fridges and kill off any bad bacteria that may.
That's a staggering product, especially the portability of that bag from a housekeeping perspective, because there's lots of touchy things.
There's two versions of this. There's one that is the plug-in, and you just have a plug and you just plug it in. There's also a battery version as well, where you charge it with USB and go and use it. But literally, it's 180 seconds and it's done.
Wow! Great, so, thanks, Austin. Thank you.
No worries. But if anyone has any ideas or thoughts of any of the applications, do let me know, because I can't imagine every application. But I'm always interested to hear where people think these things might be used, because we can use it in our communications and our literature.
Indeed, excellent. Anybody else? I just wanted to say, as one thing I've found recently in the technology world is the amount of innovations that's going on with different sort of like apps and cloud-based things. It's showing the difference between people who are pushing forward and the old people. I was mentioning earlier about OnQ and how they still have the same old PNS and everything. And the amount of work that actually goes into maintaining that PMS and actually trying to work around it. When today you've got other PMS that they have these API systems where they communicate with each piece of software almost automatically. You no longer have to talk to an IT supplier about, oh, does it have an interface? You just say, well, has it got an API? And they say, yeah, and then they talk to each other. And I think it's important that people realize in the hospitality industry that the technology these days is advancing very rapidly and it's actually cheaper. Most of these cloud-based systems I'm seeing coming to the fore are because it's only like a subscription to an online facility, you're actually paying a lot less. And for example, the POS systems that are coming through now that are tablet based, a tablet will cost about what, 250, 300 quid, whereas a till will cost about 1,500 once you put it all together. So I've always found that when people want to change their systems their front office system in a hotel, the biggest cost is not actually the front office system, it's actually the point of sale system, because historically they'd have to change all the tills, and each till would cost like 1.5 grand, etc., and printers and this and the other. And these days everything's moving far much towards towards the sort of like tablet based, even the client's own mobile phones and waiters' own mobile phones being used to change these. So people shouldn't be afraid of the advances in technology that are happening today, because they can actually be far more efficient and far more cost effective. Yep. That was all really. Anybody else got anything else to add today? I'm afraid I haven't got a second presentation. I'm running short. If anybody knows anybody for presentations, I'm happy to introduce them and get them in here. But today, yeah, we've had an excellent one from Austin, but just for one.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Okay. I think we'll round it up for today. Bit of a short one, but I know everybody's got lots to do. So we'll meet again it's going to be about the 18th of January now, just to get over the Christmas period. So hope everybody has a very happy Christmas and enters into a very prosperous new year. And look forward to seeing you all again in about sort of a month's time.
Great stuff. Thank you, Robin.
Thanks very much, Robin.
Thank you, Robin.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Love to
Robin.
see you all.
Thanks, Austin.
Thanks
Bye.
very much,
Okay.
Robin.
Bye.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Have a great time.
Bye.
Bye. Robin, I've put a suggestion in the chat for a presentation.
I didn't catch that.
I've put a suggestion in the
Alison
chat.
Maggie Baker.
Yeah, she's a hospitality expert through and through, and does a lot of talks, etc. It might be worth just connecting with her and having a chat with her about angles that you'd like to see for this audience.
Yeah, she is connected to the forum. She's been on a couple of them, but yeah, no, certainly I'll bear that in mind.
Yeah. Okay.
Brilliant.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Cheerio, everybody.
Bye bye now.
Bye.